Before we get into the actual collection, thank you all so much for over 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. In this video though, I'm going to be talking about my collection. I've broken this up into parts. There's a collection part, there's the things that I've learned part, and then also my favorites, at the time of this recording at least. So without further ado, let's talk about what I got behind me. Please keep in mind in this video as well, I'm going to be talking a lot about like quantity and stuff in terms of the amount of manga that I have. And I've been collecting for 13 months, which may speak to a borderline problem that I have. But I gotta say, please do not use this video as an expectation or a standard of where you should be at like 13 months of collecting. I just don't have any self-control. I should probably lead off this video by exposing how much manga and light novels I've actually bought. And I have totaled 144 unique series across 661 volumes of manga and light novels, which is absurd, at least in my opinion. Of those 144 series, though, 66 of those series, or 45.83%, are either complete or up to date on releases. For example, I have all 5 volumes of Erase, and I have all 8 current volumes of Call of the Night. In order to complete 144 series, though, and to have 100% completion rate in my library right now, I would need to have to buy 802 volumes for 1,463 total, which is a lot to think about. And contrary to popular belief, I don't just spend my time wasting money or spending it. Believe it or not, I actually try to read the stuff that I buy. I know, right? Weird concept. Nani? At the time of writing this script, because I'm trying to read Danmachi as fast as I can to catch up to the anime, I've read approximately 290 of my 661 volumes, or 43.87%. Now, that reading is scattered all over the place, and maybe there are some series that I have not read at all. For instance, Mushoku Tensei, I can't read volume 10. I don't own volumes 7 through 9. And you know what? I own 22 volumes of Kaguya-sama, but I haven't started it yet because I've seen the anime right now, and I just already know I love it. Outside of just outright snagging box sets, the easiest series that I've been able to collect personally and get up to date, or at least buy in bulk, has been the Full Metal editions of Full Metal Alchemist, actually. Now, those are a little bit more on the pricier side, but at the time that I got like probably 13 or so of the volumes, I was working at a Barnes & Noble, and when I started getting these, I got most of them during a literal just all hardback book 50% off sale that they had. And back in like winter 2021, January, February 2022, you could not get rid of these volumes fast enough on the shelves. People were not really buying these up, so I just bought a lot of them. And it's super nice because those hardback Full Metal editions are expensive, you know? I mean, they're collectors. In terms of the hardest series to collect, though, I'm gonna have to say it was probably Tokyo Ghoul. I mean, Tokyo Ghoul, yeah, you can like buy the single volumes, and they're pretty plentiful in the Barnes & Noble, Books A Million places that I've been to, but I was just super stubborn and wanted the box sets. I mean, personally, I think I got super lucky on these box sets. I got the sequel of Tokyo Ghoul RE. I got that box set first, and it was kind of around my birthday last year, where Amazon just completely restocked it out of nowhere at MSRP value. So I got it for like myself as a birthday present. The OG Tokyo Ghoul, though, was honestly a huge surprise. I just happened to have gone to a half-price books, which half-price books in Barnes & Nobles in my area, I'm not gonna lie, are absolute trash. They're some of the worst bookstores for manga collecting I've seen. Don't go to Central Kentucky if you want to collect manga easily. And I just happened that day to walk into a like pretty much brand new Tokyo Ghoul OG box set sitting in the case. Now, typical quadruple price books, you know, had this at the resale value of like $300, but I just happened to have a coupon that a friend gave me over on Twitter, Trey, one of my good buddies. And then also the half price book has this promotion of like stamps, and if you get X amount of stamps, you get X amount of money or percent off or whatever. And so I was able to actually use both of them, even though it very clearly says that you're not allowed to use them. The cashier allowed me to combine them, and I basically got this box set for like under $200, which I'm not really gonna complain about because they go for like 300 some on eBay. It's a good thing I still look like a broke college kid. In my collection, here's a breakdown of how many volumes I have in each demographic. I'm also gonna give a brief explanation in case anybody doesn't know. Shonen is the #1 category I own, and that is media marketed towards males from ages 12 to 14. Seinen is the next one on the list, and despite seinen being the Japanese word for youth, it's the demographic of adult men ages 18 to 40. The next one is shoujo, and although it doesn't have like an explicit of a definition as shonen does, it is essentially directed towards girls and young adult women. In my opinion, that's probably like ages 12 to 20 in women. Take that with a grain of salt though. Josei is the demographic for adult women, and I would venture to say that's probably 21 plus in age. And especially because it's a more cloudy set of definitions I've given, I've recommended for getting more into shoujo and josei, probably watch this video in the iCard up top to get more of an explanation. But the final category in this is kodomo muke. Hopefully I said that right. Or kids under the age of 12. If you don't really know what that means because you've never heard of it before, I actually didn't know about this until I started writing the script. Think of like Pokemon and Digimon. Considering that I'm a 25-year-old dude with a very heavy sports background, I don't think these numbers really surprise anybody, to be honest. Though there are some surprises in here that I'm really gonna lay on about these numbers later in the video, at least. Now, digging deeper into this and looking at the genres, you know, what kind of manga do I have? I'm actually going to only tell you about the top 5 genres that I have in total, because Wikipedia, when I was looking up all these series, told me that I had 52 different genres in my collection. That's a wide taste, I feel like. In this top 5, as you can see, fantasy and adventure really dominate my top genres. I've always been a fan of another world or one different than the one that I live in, and seeing many new places and having totally new experiences. I grew up adoring series like Guardians of Gahuli, that one animal series that I'm thinking of on the fly. It's got like Martin the Warrior. I'm putting it up on screen for you. I freaking love those books. And I think it kind of plays into the other parts of my genres, like slice of life. And at first, seeing how much slice of life I had, it did surprise me, but the more that I think about it, it didn't actually surprise me. I consider myself in my full-time job to have a pretty stressful life sometimes. For full-time work, I control all aspects of media as the head of a college athletic department, which is a lot to handle. I also do a lot of traveling for my job, and ever since the pandemic in 2020, traveling is very stressful in my opinion. And so going back to what I was saying about like fantasy and adventure, the idea of jumping into a slice of life, jumping into another world, somebody else's life with their experiences and day-to-day actions, and especially for slice of life that usually doesn't have like a super heavy plot or Chainsaw Man-esque like plot twists, I can just turn my brain off and enjoy the series. So we know where the demographics are, we know the genres of what I own, but who are the publishers? I don't think it's a surprise that Viz Media was leading the way out of all of the publishers I had. I mean, it's literally almost double the second place one of Yen Press. What did surprise me though, and was one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this specifically, I was kind of surprised that I had more Kodansha volumes than 7 Cs. I mean, because like when I sit here right now and think about it, I can think of way more 7 Cs than Kodansha. So it's just like kind of surprising to me. Out of all the covers and of all the qualities of the series that I own, I think my favorite series in terms of an aesthetic has to be like Case Study of Vanitas. Man, Jun Mochizuki really just popped off in my opinion in the art in this series. Volume 3 is probably my favorite of the 8 volumes currently released in the US at the time of this recording, and the material of the book is, it just feels really good. Like I can't really explain in another way how it is. So like if you see this in a bookstore, you own it, you just feel up that book with consent. You just touch this book and like that's what it feels. That's what it feels like. That's so stupid. Oh, I'm losing brain cells. But anyways, out of those 661 volumes of books that I own, a vast majority of them are manga, not surprisingly. I was though pleasantly surprised to own 125 light novels. I actually didn't think it was triple digits. But then I think about it, again, I'm just doing a lot of thinking lately, and maybe it doesn't surprise me that I have over 100. I think a lot of you that have been watching the channel for the last couple months can agree that I've actually upped up my light novels in my hauls. Like, especially because the light novels that I've been picking up lately have so many volumes. Like, Classroom of the Elite has, I think, like 13 volumes in year 1. Don Machi's about to release volume 17, I think. Mushoku Tensei just released volume 17. And like before 2021, I didn't know about manga or really anime in general. And growing up, like I read traditional American books. Like I used to read books all the time. Ask my siblings. I was a freaking nerd. I was reading all the time. And so now getting back into reading with manga and stuff, now that I've gotten a rhythm and I can read, I really think like reading is a skill. It makes sense that I would really these last couple months start gravitating back towards those traditional books like that. I only have a couple manhwas and it's literally all just solo leveling. If you don't know what a manhwa is, it's a Korean print comic. And I only have one illustration book that I literally just bought the other week. So if I had to set goals, which I'm not in this video because I want to do that at like the beginning of the year, I would love to dive deeper and collect more manhwa and illustration, especially with illustration books. Like here's the thing, literally one of the biggest reasons why I love anime and manga, the art. I love seeing the beauty of someone's work just laid out and just in a beautiful fashion with so many different unique styles and characteristics, and getting something that enhances those artistic values and absolute beauty is something that I've come to adore. I mean, I've looked all the way, like I started collecting Shikishi boards. I got a Otakoi one right here. I've got a Tokyo Revengers one on the way. There's the Viz Media one right there. And I display a whole bunch of books, some of my favorite covers. So like, it makes sense. The final portion of evaluating like specifically what I have in my collection is what kind of volumes are they? Not every series gets a special edition or box set. A vast majority of the volumes, aka over 500, are what I would call original edition. Now, there's a little thing to note in original editions. That's more of like how they're advertised rather than when they came out. So like, for example, if anybody's curious on what I mean by that, my Pet Shop of Horrors Volume 1 is from the original print run in 2003. But like my Hunter x Hunter Volume 4 is from the 9th print run in May 2021. Both of those, though, I would consider to be original editions because they look exactly how they were like the first print run. 98 of my volumes, though, are contained in 8 different box sets, and I almost impulse bought a box set before making this script to get it over 100 because I was only 2 away. But anyways, again, like I talked about earlier, not a lot of series get special editions or box sets, so having only that many is not super surprising. Plus, they're kind of like an upfront commitment type of deal. I mean, the Demon Slayer box set, the Bleach box set, they're over $100. The Tokyo Ghoul box set's over $100. A lot of times with box sets, specifically Attack on Titan, I could buy a couple more boxes of Attack on Titan, but it's like $43 for an Attack on Titan box, or I could buy like 4 or 5 volumes that are either releasing this week or maybe some single volumes that I want to get a hold of before they go away. So it's kind of one of those things. In terms of collector's editions and omnibus volumes, I actually kind of lumped them both together. I mean, in my mind, an omnibus version is kind of like a collector's version. I mean, omnibus volumes are different than the original Japanese ones. Like, yeah, One Piece has clear omnibus volumes, and you can kind of make that in like Soul Eater or Full Metal Alchemist, all those kind of collectors. But something like Otakoi and Darling in the Franxx, I mean, they only have one way that you can get them in the United States, and they're in this kind of omnibus format. It just seemed fitting to keep omnibus in with the collector's editions in my mind. I mean, not that I need any justification because I'm an adult and I can make my own decisions. Like when I want to watch something that'll make me cry at night, like Violet Evergarden. God, I want to make a video on Violet Evergarden because I can't stop thinking about it. But anyways, that's enough talking about what's in the collection. But what in the last year of collecting have I learned along the way? My potential problems could be your solution. Number one, separate your manga into two parts. Let me lead this off by saying there is no correct or incorrect way volume to organize your collection. It's literally however you want to do it. If you want to put them on the floor and stack them up, fine by me. You want to put them on a shelf to where they may fall off if you have an earthquake, fine by me. If you want to do it how I'm doing it, that's perfectly okay. The way that I do it though, and I wish I could give the person a shout out on TikTok, but I saw this method on a TikTok like 2 months ago and I've just done it ever since and it's so good, but I don't have it on me. I think the way that you should do it is to split up your manga and light novels into two sections. Complete / up to date in one and not complete / up to date in the other. Now, this is probably close to what a lot of people do because I think a lot of people naturally, myself included, when they first start putting things on shelves, is they just organize it alphabetically by title, which is basically that, but do it twice. The reason that I changed the traditional way and started doing it this way is because a lot of series have more than one volume. And so when you grab a new volume like The Promised Neverland Volume 8 or Mushoku Tensei Volume 7, you're constantly rearranging things. And sometimes, especially like if Call of the Night gets a new volume, that is going to affect this row right here, all of these rows right here, this over here, and like the bookshelf that's off screen. So splitting it up into two sections of up to date and not up to date is very nice because now, you know, volumes only come out once every couple months for all of these series over here. And so having them in the front allows me when I buy 15 volumes of Kaguya-sama in 1 month, I only have to move this stuff instead of all of this stuff. I mean, personally, and this might just be a personal problem, I feel like the more that you move books out, the more likely you are to get some sort of like whitening or damage or bends or whatever, and that's just the naturalness of touching things. So like I want to minimize that because I want my volumes to look pristine, I want them to look good, and so I'm a snob. But I can't be the only one who thinks like this, right? Now for the next thing that I've learned, you really need to think about whether you want to complete series in your collection or start new ones and prioritize one of them. And again, there's no wrong or right way to collect. This might just be my personality, but I literally will grab something that catches my eye and I don't know anything about it. I mean, especially in the first couple months of collecting, I jumped on new series so easily. So like oftentimes I would just buy a new volume instead of buying volume 7 of Kaguya-sama. And that delay sometimes would really bite me in the ass at times. For those of you that don't know, I really like the series Love Me for Who I Am. If you don't know what it is, it's a 5-volume completed series with a non-binary main character. It's very cute in my opinion. I had the first 2 volumes at the time, and at the time at bookstores, volume 5 had recently released, so they had pretty much restocks of the rest of the series. I remember this specific weekend of Frieren Beyond Journey's End had released its newest first volume, and I decided to snag volume 1 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End because I mean I heard what a big hit it was in Japan, and I, reading the premise, really liked it too. Shiny new volume 1 of a new series. And so I skipped out of buying volume 3, 4, and 5 of Love Me for Who I Am for that and a couple other series. Now fast forward to the next week, I go to the bookstore, there's not a lot of things releasing this week, so my plan was to buy the next couple volumes, the final ones needed for Love Me for Who I Am. And turns out they were all gone. I looked on my backup, when I can't find them physically, I go online to Right Stuff Anime, completely sold out of stock. And I think right now they still are mostly at the time of this recording. And so I missed out on finishing a series pretty easily that I really liked for something that was brand new and more than likely was gonna get reprinted. Like, it is July now, and I think I can still find volume 1 of Freyrin at my terrible, awful Barnes & Noble bookstore. The only way I was able to get the last 3 volumes of Love Me for Who I Am was I was on a business trip in Texas, and I went to a bookstore in Texas and found them, of all places. And you can't get lucky like that every single time. So, especially for longer series like maybe Mushoku Tensei, or something that I've noticed, hold on, The Promised Neverland. The Promised Neverland is a completed 20-volume series. Now, in previous months, I think in like May in a video, I stated how, man, I went to that video where I went to like 8,000 different Barnes & Nobles that y'all are really popping off on YouTube lately. I said a couple times in that video, like, you could find all the volumes of Promised Neverland really easily. I mean, I went to like 8 Barnes & Nobles and I saw a whole bunch. But I just went the other day to get this Shikishi board, and the Barnes & Noble that usually had a ton of Promised Neverland barely had any. And it's not like it just got announced that they're redoing season 2 of the anime or like anything. So like, I don't know. So what I'm saying is sometimes you have to evaluate this yourself and how much you value a series. But maybe it's better to just grab the old volumes and complete what you got, or get farther along, at least closer to up to date, than to buy the shiny new one that you'll probably be able to find later. Number 3 that I learned, I have a much wider taste than I thought, and I'm glad I jumped on that taste. Now, I mentioned earlier in this video, I come from a heavy sports background. I mean, I grew up watching sports, playing sports, former college student athlete, and my career is literally sports. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I liked rom-coms or anything romance related, I would have been like, no. I probably wouldn't have even been able to name 5 rom-coms, like major rom-coms in like American media. So when I started getting into anime, looking at my MAL profile, you could tell that my entries were pretty much all the same. I mean, action, adventure, drama-y type stuff, aka not romance. But last summer, I had finished Black Clover, great series, I love Black Clover, and I was on Crunchyroll and I wanted to pass the time some more. I wasn't in school, I didn't have a job, like I was enjoying summer. And on the homepage, after finishing the last Black Clover episode, there was this bright banner for this series that I've never heard of before, but it just released the season finale, so I decided to give it a go. I hadn't heard of it yet, but I literally spent the rest of the day watching it because I loved it so much. If curiosity hadn't gotten the best of me and I didn't watch Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, there's so much anime I would have missed. Like, I didn't even realize that rom-coms and stuff could be like shonen or seinen for that matter. Kaguya-sama, like, I'm mind blown that that is seinen. Like, I think of seinen and I think of like Tokyo Ghoul, but it's also that. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy actually. If I didn't watch that rom-com, I would have never got to experience other favorites that I have. Maid-sama, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I mean, it's not super romancy, but like kind of that slower, it's like, it is a little bit of romancy. It is Yuri. So like, don't be afraid to start something new. Now, I will say in terms of manga and light novels, I know mine was more of an anime example. It is a little bit of a commitment to pay at least $10 for a manga volume that you don't even know if you're gonna like. If you're curious about something, but maybe you don't want to jump on the $10, what I recommend is like, watch the anime. A lot of manga light novel readers have subscriptions to Anime, High Dive, Netflix, Funimation. Like, do people still have Funimation subscriptions actually? Either way, anime adaptations are a good indicator, at least start wise, if you're gonna like something or not. You can watch the first 3 episodes and be like, yeah, this plot's really cool, or I really like these characters, and then you can go pick that up. Or if you're stuck in super dedicated on reading, there are other subscription sites like Viz Media, Shonen Jump app that you can pay like $2 a month to, and you get a whole library of manga. Like, I can read the entirety of Bleach on the Viz Media app. That's a lot. That's like 70 some volumes. So like, if you're curious, just go out and find other options to test out the waters first. But this kind of leads into my 4th point, and be you with your collection. Now, I mean, especially because I just mentioned like looking up the series and different avenues to try to figure out if you like it or not before you buy why. We live in an information age where, again, if you're curious, you can find an excess amount of stuff about pretty much any series. MAL is a score that a lot of people utilize whether to pick up a series or not. And I mean, there's probably a YouTube video for almost every series of, you know, somebody saying whether they like it or not. If is it worth it, you know, is it good? And this isn't a shot at anybody, but like, stop taking YouTubers especially, and MAL for example, stop taking that opinion into law. Look, for example, Rent a Girlfriend. You may have seen Rent a Girlfriend right here, and if you're new to the channel, I am not secretive that I just loved Rent a Girlfriend. I mean, it's my trash show. The anime and manga is a laughingstock in the anime manga community, I would say. I mean, I agree, the MC is infuriating, and especially if you're a manga reader, it may feel like a lot of times that the plot progression just does not exist. And I get that, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but if I had listened to their voices and never just started watching the anime Rent a Girlfriend before I picked up the manga to see if I would like it or not, I would never have experienced this series. I would have never also watched the Tokyo Ghoul anime or like read the Catch These Hands manga. I mean, sure, I take people's opinion and I do value it to an extent. Like a lot of you leave recommendations on these YouTube videos, on my TikToks, in Discord, and I check most of them out. I mean, I literally have a video on the YouTube channel of you all buying a manga for me. But like overall, like form your own opinion on things. Like, just experience stuff. You never know if you like Nagatoro or not if you don't try it. But the perfect transition now to where I tell you my absolute favorites and praise to the almighty laws that you pick up these and read them. We're gonna talk about my favorites. I'm gonna split these favorites into manga and light novels because in my opinion, like, I value manga a lot for the art and like the beauty of that art, whereas in light novels, I really pay more attention to the storytelling, although the illustrations are beautiful and wonderful and could really impact on how I'm feeling about it, but like, I more so pay attention to the words. So let's start off with the light novels. Number 5, Date Alive. This is my trash light novel series. Like, oh, it's just good in my opinion. I like the story. I like the characters. The kiss is a little weird sometimes, but like, it's funny at times. It's a guilty pleasure series, I promise. Number 4, 86. I have hyped up this series a lot. I love this series. For anyone who does not know, its anime was absolutely enthralling. It's got drama, it's got action, it's got war, it's got love even. It's got a little bit for everybody, and it's one of these series that has just truly captivated me. Number 3, Danmachi's Sword Oratoria, or Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Sword Oratoria side story. Now, you may have heard about this in a previous video or me just talking about it like on Twitch or something, but this series was actually in my first ever anime manga light novel haul. I still have yet to see the anime adaptation, but I had just finished binge watching Danmachi, the anime, and it was the first series that I ever binge watched. And so going to a bookstore one day because I found out that manga and light novels existed, and finding a side story of a series that I loved, that was really cool. And especially because I think Sword Oratoria is done really well also. It enhances the series that you know because it canonically runs with it, and it does a good job explaining why some of the things have happened and how some things led up to this point and stuff, which is really cool, especially one of the characters that is kind of mysterious and you don't like super know about, Ace Wallenstein in the Loki Familia. It's really cool to get to know her more. Anyways, number 2, Adachi and Shimamura. I had to have an LGBTQ one up here. I mean, I've got some good series, and Adachi and Shimamura, in my opinion, is probably one of the best LGBTQ series in my collection. It is incredibly wholesome. It's super funny at times. It is cringy at times. Like Adachi sometimes is kind of cringy, but like that's one of the things that I love. I love cringe, especially like wholesome, like almost coming of age type of cringe. I don't know. It's super cute. It's very beautiful. They're very easy reads in my opinion as well. And it's one of those things where I read one of the volumes and I finish it and I'm like, okay, I have to read the next one now. Like, I want to keep reading this series. And the first one, you may have probably guessed it, Danmachi, the original source material, light novels, or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? I already kind of talked about how much I love Danmachi. I mean, I binged it. It was the first anime I really ever binged. I mentioned earlier how I love like other worlds and stuff like that, and Greek mythology has always been something that I really, really love. I mean, Percy Jackson was a series that I really, really liked. So the idea of like Zeus, Hermes, what's the one fish man? The guy with the trident. Anyway, since Danmachi is based on a lot of the characters being like stemmed from Greek or Norse mythology, that is something that I absolutely love. So having those kind of qualities and characteristics easily puts it in my top. Plus, I mean, I love Bel Cornell. He might be my favorite MC. I mean, he's my Twitter PFP right now. But into the manga, the bulk of my collection. Number 5, I already kind of talked about this series, Case Study of Vanitas. It's just beautiful, man. Like, the story is good. I like the story, don't get me wrong. And I ship literally every single character with each other in this series. But it's breathtaking. It's got some beautiful, beautiful panels in here. It is just done incredibly well. And number 4 as well, Frere and Beyond Journey's End, is another one that is just breathtaking, literally every single page. I think Frere might be like the most beautiful manga that I've ever read personally. And I kind of like how it's really spun around the idea of an adventure series. It's an adventure series, but it's much slower. It's not action-packed really. There is a little bit of action, but like, again, it's more slower of a story. It allows you to sit and think about the concept of your quality in time with others, and it's a really powerful message that I don't really see like in manga. I'd love to talk about it more sometimes, so let me know if you want to hear me talk about why Frere and Beyond Journey's End is an incredible series that you should read. And also Volume 5 just released. I don't own it yet. It's being shipped to my house. You could probably get up to date on it pretty quickly. Now the top 3 they're easily the hardest ones for me to do because they could go back and forth just depending on what day of the week it is. But number 3, as of right now at the time of this recording, Spy X Family, or I just call it Spy Family, but Spy Family is an incredible series with a whole bunch of twists and turns. It literally can appeal to pretty much everybody, in my opinion, with beautiful characters that interact with one another, that immerse really, really well, and a story that has the potential for a lot of different scenarios without feeling repetitive, but also constantly progressing. The art is also gorgeous. I love Your Forger. She can absolutely stab me in the throat. Also, Lloyd can really step on my jugular, and Anya's just adorable. Anyways, going on to number 2, Call of the Night. There's a bigger message in Call of the Night that I really, really want to make a YouTube video about that has made me incredibly love the series. But just like Frere, this is a beautiful series. If you have seen its anime episodes that have been recently airing, it fits literally the same exact vibe as the manga. It's like lo-fi. I mean, it's like you're reading or watching lo-fi. It's truly incredible. And it really fits well into the environment, the setting of the story, because it all takes place at night. And again, if you want to hear me talk about it more, just let me know. I literally actually have a half-written script that I go to every so often, and I just keep writing in a couple points. It may almost be ready for like an actual video. I don't know. But number 1, I don't think this is gonna surprise anybody, Chainsaw Man. It literally holds my favorite panel of all time. I mean, if you haven't seen it on Twitter, 1, go follow me on Twitter. But I literally just got this tattooed on my leg the other week. So like, yeah, Chainsaw Man is my favorite series of all time. It is completely action-packed. It is gut-wrenching funny at times, and I literally cannot predict what happens in the series. It is a surprise at every single turn. And also, I hope you're enjoying part 2 of Chainsaw Man, because I certainly have been. Those top ones are just at the time of this recording. In the next 12 months, that could change for whatever reason. I mean, I could have more anime tattoos of my favorite manga panels and whatnot. I don't know. And with that, so much more can change as well. I won't mention goals and stuff in this video because I want to do a goals video like at the beginning of the year. Like, will I get a lot more shoujo and josei? Will I get more merchandise to fill my shelves? Which, if you can tell, I've been doing that also over here. But like, what else will I learn to be able able to give tips to you all. What are things that you should know? So make sure to stay tuned and drop by next time when we talk about those things. Before we go, you know, there's a couple cool videos over here that you could watch. I mean, I think they're pretty good. I mean, YouTube thinks so too. They're recommending it to you. And when has YouTube ever been wrong in their recommendations? Don't answer that question. Just click on a video and have a great rest of the day. Thanks for watching, and thanks again for 1,000 subs.